Uh, I things have been going too good for the Cowboys this year. I just, uh, man, that was a game they should not have lost. But
Nope.
well, here we are.
They threw up on themselves, and that's what they get. So, speaking of throwing up on themselves, though, let's just jump right in. Swiggy, here we are yet again. Group therapy number 5, couch burner edition.
Mhm.
OU has dropped their 5th game of the season. First time they're going to be under .500 in the conference since 1998, and
Yep.
it always seems like we keep going back to 1998, but it's true. This team is, and with all due respect, this team is trash. They are bad. Like they are. It's not even a question anymore. Spoiler alert:
It's
if Spencer Sanders plays on Saturday, we will lose. I am
they're
fully
ba-
convinced of that.
they're bad in like kind of the worst way possible. In that, like, I'm not saying I want to get blown out, nor should you ever want to get blown out. But it's just like we're bad in that way that if things broke a certain way, yeah, we have 8 wins by now, but they're not breaking that way because of a lot of mental mistakes, and we keep shooting ourselves in the foot.
Exactly. And let's be
Like,
honest. Let's be honest. If the pendulum swang our direction every single year, if we had a better quarterback, I do believe the pendulum would swing in our direction more. But it's
oh
not.
yeah,
They
oh
they
yeah,
suck.
it's.
They suck. And I
I
want to
mean,
say it. They suck.
I mean, I mean the T. uh, I don't. I'm gonna say they're frustratingly up and down because the defense actually played pretty decently against West Virginia. I know it's West Virginia, but the defense gave us a chance to win. And then the offense was just like, no, no, we're not going to take it.
No,
It's,
yeah.
uh,
Yeah, we don't want it. You want it.
yeah, yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing is that we're frustratingly inconsistent this year in kind of weird ways if every game was kind of just the TCU game, okay, we just suck. We're bad. We're horrible. But we had the Kansas State game where we barely lost. TCU where we got blown out. I'm not really counting Texas just because of injuries and yeah, I just don't feel that when you I just that's just a tough game to put your that's just a tough game to put pretty much anything on because yeah, because of things. It's like okay, the offense looks fixed against Kansas. We're okay against Iowa State. We do the offense is right there against Baylor. We're so close. If the defense could make a few more stops, and that's like, okay, great. The defense has done what we need them to do this game. And then, well, the offense doesn't feel like showing up this week. So,
Yeah. And I think where do we even start? Because first off, I don't care what the records say. Like you lose to West Virginia, you suck.
oh,
Like
yeah,
you are a
yeah,
bottom dweller. It does not matter. Like
yeah, yeah,
this is on Brent. Like whether he likes it or not, yes, everybody gets their mulligan their first year. Everyone needs to get the time to put the system in.
yeah,
But this is on Brent that he laid an egg and it's a massive egg. And people are going to be pointing fingers. People are going to be pointing at staff. People are going to be doing this.
yeah,
At the end of the day, man, it's everybody. Everybody sucks. There is no coaches are to blame, players are to blame. It's everything with it.
yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
I think some of it, but let's kind of start with the coaches. I'll be honest. Is Brent getting fired? No. Like, let's get this out here. No, he's not going to get fired. Has he dug himself a little bit of a hole, though? Yes, because the thing that keeps going back to me, these Bob Stoops teams, these Nick Saban teams, the Dabo Sweeney, name any team you want that starts 6-6, 7-5 with a rebuilding. The big thing with them is the players showed effort, and then if it was on the field, they just got beat. Like they just got outright beat, and They were just better teams. So like the TCU, no one's going to blame this year on TCU when they're probably going to win the conference. There's no shame in losing to
No,
the
it's no.
TCUs. But if you're not putting forth the effort, like I don't think these players, and I'll get back to coaches in a sec, but I don't think these players understand they are this close from being booed at home.
No,
Like I don't think they know. Like our fans aren't going to tolerate that bullshit. They are going to get booed at home. If they boo Spencer Rattler, they are going to boo them, and there is even worse than Spencer Rattler's was.
yeah,
They won't have any shame for it. But with the coaches, though, I feel like some of them, it's like you got to give time. Venables, the thing is, I'm scared that he's starting to get to that scary point because this could all fall apart. And I don't claim to follow recruiting. I don't claim to be an expert in recruiting. But even I know with the way you lose and you keep doing it,
nah,
shit hits the fan on it. And even if some go, why would we want to play here? Like, it's
nah.
true. Why would they want to play here?
I mean, because you can improve the team because you can improve the team. You can be the guy who brings it back after a bad year. It's as far as recruiting. Look, you're coming for Brent. People know what they did in Clemson, and a lot of ways. And I mean, a lot of ways you can just play this off as Lincoln, off as Lincoln Riley. I mean, look at it this way: even even Harbaugh even Harbaugh with his bad Michigan teams got good recruits. Even Texas has gotten good recruits. As far as recruiting goes, don't worry too much. Don't worry too much about recruiting. It's Oklahoma. There's money. There's money. There's other things. It's I mean, as far as losing some people, yeah, but I mean Notre Dame. I mean Notre Dame lost. Notre Dame loses people,
The
and
flip side
it's
of that,
just
though, is like if you lose your linchpin, though, that's a big deal.
yeah, maybe. I mean, but maybe, but you have to maybe. But once again, you have to just wait. With recruiting, you just have to wait. You just have to wait and see. And right now, I wouldn't worry too much about recruits. You need a few bad years before recruits really start looking at it as a bad thing. The class is good as a whole. It's and at the end of the day, a lot of this, I mean, you can say it's Lincoln Riley's players. Now, if this is still the same next year, then yeah, you can start worrying at that point. But
Right, and
you
that's something to
but
keep in mind. Like,
yeah, but as far as this year goes, look, as far as
and
this year goes, I'm not super. I'm just I just wouldn't be concerned about recruits this year. So
so the thing for me is, yes, some of it is Lincoln Riley. It has to circle back every time because you lose your quarterback. We'd be USC right now
yeah,
if Lincoln was still here. Let's be honest. We would have the
yeah,
quarterback. He would use his ungodly Titan powers to pull us out of the hole. But we would still maybe be what, 7-3, maybe 8-2 at this point, maybe in play. But there is some stuff. The issue Lincoln Riley had is he was ass at evaluating talent.
yep.
And it shows. Most of those guys, and I have no shame in saying names with it. I pride myself of being firm but fair with it, and I expect the same for people to me. There are several guys on this team that should not be fielding a D1 scholarship, especially at OU. Now, could
Yeah,
they fit in at a G5? Sure.
yeah. It's yeah. I
Wanye
mean,
Morris should not be fielding at this team. Matauer should not be fielding on this team.
yeah.
Justin Broyle should not be fielding on this team. What happened?
I mean, ask Lincoln. I mean, unfortunately, you have to ask Lincoln. Lincoln's the only one who really Lincoln's the only one who really knows. And honestly, I'll just say it. You to me, I kind of get the sense that Lincoln knew this was coming, and he wanted to get out while the getting was good.
Correct.
Because, I mean, Grinch went with him. These are people who, who allegedly recruited all these great players, but they had no issue just leaving so many guys behind who they recruited so highly. and just leaving in the middle of the night after a rivalry game.
Correct. And I
Really
feel like,
makes you think.
well, the thing is for offense, when it was very, very obvious, Lincoln knew what he was doing for picking out like good players. It's what you told me, Swiggy. Who has actually produced, who was recruited by Lincoln Riley in the NFL? I think the only claim to fame on any of them, and it was at the tail end of Bob's tenure, was CD. None of his players have panned out in the NFL.
I
And
mean,
I know that's not a measurement. I understand that.
it
But
is no, it is a measurement. It is a measurement because at the end of the day, that's when it helps recruiting. I can get you to play on Sunday. Saban is a great coach, but the reason
that's fair.
Saban can recruit, hey, look, man, you come here, I can make you play on Sunday. You go to University of Texas.
Yeah.
Texas has not had an offensive player go in the first rounds since Vince Young.
That's
Consider
fair.
that for one.
That's
Consider
fair.
that for one.
That's
Consider
fair.
that for 1 second.
That's
As
fair. And
for as big as Texas is, for as much talent as they have, for as much as you can get them hyped up, they have not had someone in the offense go in the first round.
that's
And
fair.
look and look where Texas has been since Vince Young. Look where they've been.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
I want to say yes, and I understand that with it. I think both sides are right. I think both sides of what we're saying is right. Of yes, NFL stuff does care. It does get the crew here. It gets you.
Yeah.
It may be one of those deal breaker type of deals. It may not be the driving force, but it's the deal breaker. But at the same time, with it as well, like yeah. Circling back to the coaches though, with it, I think not just with the evaluation of talent and stuff as well. I'm gonna be honest. Look, as I say, I am firm but fair. Okay. I hold claim to that. Anyone can argue with me with it. Feel free to criticize me. I claim myself to be about a solid B plus student. Okay. I can get A's if I put forth the effort. Okay. There's times in my life I have slacked off. Okay. Like I do not hide it. I realize it. These players are slacking, man. They are not putting forth the effort because when you hear the post games, when you're hearing the comments they're doing, they're laughing. They think this is a joke. They're slacking. They're not putting forth the effort. Like even I can go on the field like, you guys aren't learning the material, guys. Like, and I say this because I use the same excuse of, oh, we'll get better. Yeah, I did that to get out of trouble too. They're immature. They don't understand it. And like I said, they are this close from getting booed at home. And I don't think they haven't got their heads out of their asses to understand that. And I'm not melting down. This is reality. Like if OSU is 21 points ahead, the booing's gonna start.
I mean, yeah,
And I don't think they realize that. And I don't think they realize they're hurting their teammates by not putting forth the effort. And they're hurting their draft stock. If they have draft aspirations at this point, like who's gonna
yeah.
pick
I mean,
them up?
a lot of them just straight up are not going to have a lot of them are straight up just don't have draft aspiration, just don't have any draft stock at this point, at least on defense.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And again, that goes to evaluation of talent, and it's putting forth the effort. Some of the coaches right now should not. If we're going to be fair on players, I'm going to say it right now, Ted Roof needs to go, man. Ted Roof, I understand he was probably supposed to be a puppet, getting ready for or the other defensive coordinator to really step up to be the main
Yeah,
guy.
I mean,
He
yeah,
was
I mean,
supposed to run Venables' defense like he wants it, run his system. He has epically failed at it. Absolutely has failed.
I mean, Roof was always. I mean, Roof to me was always a patsy. That feels mean to that feels mean to say about Roof. I don't have anything against him as a guy. I just everything about Roof's hire, everything about how they've treated Roof, everything that's gone into it has just made me feel like if the defense did well, congratulations, you're good. If the defense did not do well, we can't fire Brent, but we have the but we have a handmade fall guy.
Yeah. And I
And
think that's what's there.
yeah.
And I stand by this. And I know, don't get me wrong, and I know people are going to argue with me with it. The other one's Lebby. I think Lebby's a bust, man. surface level, like the fans aren't
Uh,
stupid.
I don't.
The issue.
Let
Hold
me
on. Here's
go
the
on.
issue.
Yeah,
Here's
go
the
on.
issue. Levy to me is a good OC, but he's not an elite. The difference is, as a good OC,
Yeah.
if you have the talent, you can run your system, but you can't adjust in the moment to cater to what the players are. We're seeing that. He has not changed his system to assist the players for what they can do, what their abilities are.
Yeah.
An elite one can come up with something on the dot. We can bitch, moan, gripe all we want about Lincoln Riley. Him as an OC, he's a genius. He was able to drop plays and change everything around. Now, was some of the stuff really stupid and predictable, like his trick plays once a game? Sure, you knew there was going to be one with
By
it.
the way,
But
by the way, this is something that got lost this weekend.
yeah,
And this has to do with Lincoln. What the hell was with that trick play up when you're up 22 against Colorado?
that's a good
I
question. Why
I
would the up? Why would he do that here?
I don't know. Well, no, it didn't make any sense to me because it's like Colorado's 1-8. They still won by like 40. Why did you pull out your trick extra point to get a 2-point conversion against Colorado? Like, you have UCLA next week, then you have Notre Dame, and then you hopefully have the Pac-12 champ game, and you just randomly decide on a Friday night against Colorado we need to be up by 24 instead of 23.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good play. Don't get me wrong. It just, that's a great that would be a great fourth quarter play to get like UC to like close out UCLA or something. I saw that on Friday and I was just like, why are you doing that against Colorado? It's and I'm not the biggest fan of Lincoln Riley. I don't think this is not me thinking it's unsportsmanlike because hey, you play it. I'm just confused as to why you show off that you're able to do that against you. I guess it's a big brain thing where it's like,
Yeah.
oh well, now they're so worried about it, they're not going to go all out to block an extra point at the end of a game. Which, okay, sure, but I still don't get that. I just that's such a Lincoln Riley move, and to do it against a one-win team, that was just so strange to me.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, if you want to tie it back into us with it, it's like, to give reason, like, I understand Levy's kind of constrained with it.
Yeah.
I have issues with him trying to get Dylan Gabriel to throw 80-yard passes every other play. I have issues with that, run the damn ball. But the flip side of it, though, is look, I'm going to be up front. If people think Dylan Gabriel is going to be the starter at this point next year, I've got a bridge to sell you. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I will come out and say I'm wrong. It's going to be Jackson Arnold. He's going to be starting because the fans will riot.
Levy is so. It's gonna be Jackson Arnold if he's ready. But I mean, Levy's so tough Levy's just tough to look at. Levy's tough because it's not like the offense. The offense is weird where there's definitely been struggle busing with the offense. We saw it against Kent State. They had issues putting away UTEP, but like, and I mean, obviously against West Virginia, we just failed. Like it's one of those things too. The offense has been inconsistent. It's been right there. A lot of weeks it's been good enough to win, but the defense has collapsed on us. And then of course this week the defense does enough, and then we collapse. And then we collapse. Like,
well, and I want to bring that up because you mentioned like the defense stuff, and I want to bring this up with the coaches because that's where I'm kind of going with this.
Yeah,
I'm baffled. Like Levy, my complaints is his play calling is atrocious. The West Virginia game is where I kind of called it done with Levy. Like, run the ball, Levy. Like, it's not hard. Like, 4th and 1, my dude. Anyway, I could go on and on with that. But,
yeah. We go. Yeah,
but then it goes back to. But it also goes back to though, Swiggy, with like the coaching staff of. I'll be honest, if there is truly true criticism I have with Brent Venables, he doesn't know clock management at all.
Yeah, I mean that's every first time. That's every first time coach though. It's
Yeah.
I mean I hate to say it, but I've yet to see even the most highly qualified coordinator have great clock management their first year.
Yeah.
I just now some of course you point to some people who totally do, but I mean Ryan Day, his first year at Ohio State, he had issues with clock management. It's it's just unfortunately one of those things that you can't that no matter how long you're in football, you can't really learn until you've taken the coaching position.
Yeah.
I agree it's a fair critique, but I mean, you know, I mean, we see. I mean, come on, we see people. We see coaches in the NFL who don't know clock. We see coaches in the NFL who don't know
And I
clock management. I gotta wait a year on it before I start panicking about that.
excuse me, what about then the field goal? To me, that was admitting defeat was the field goal. And also too, like, I just don't understand when you know he can't make it. Why? Why are you trying for a luck thing when you know you need a touchdown to win? I that baffles me more than anything. Like, oh, we're gonna stop West Virginia. Are you? Do you really trust your offense to do that, or
I
your
mean,
defense to do that?
the way the way the defense have been playing, I think they could have gotten a stop. But I also feel that man, that was such a tough ask. I understand if it's the first quarter, just
Yeah.
because, you know, because you have time on that. Maybe you get it, or at the end, or actually, I take it back. Maybe the first quarter, end of the second half, where it's like, well, we can't punt it. We don't think we'll be able to throw it up. Let's just see if we get lucky, which
Yeah.
you know, which unfortunately did not happen. I definitely, I feel like it was such a tough position because the only safe thing to do was punt. But
Yeah.
at the same time, if you don't trust if you, at the same time, if you can't handle the defense, uh, that's that was. I disagree with going for the field goal, but I also freely admit that every option you had there was fraught with problems. Like
Yeah.
if you go for it and don't get it, they still have a good field position. If you punt it, you're hoping the defense can keep them out of field position. You're
Well, and
kind of
that.
you kick the
Go ahead. Go ahead.
and you know, I mean, so they kick the field goal on the hope that he makes it, and then that way, then that way, okay, even if they get in field goal range, maybe they miss, maybe they get less aggressive, thinking they only need a field goal, maybe you can take it to overtime. Look, I mean, look, the only people who really know what was going on are the people on the coaching staff,
Yeah.
and I, to there's just unfortunately that's one of those there is no good answer
No,
for
there's not.
there's no good answer for the coaches, and they kind of just went with hoping the hoping on the field goal,
Oh God,
which
you're telling me that they have the hopium.
unfortunately, that's what it felt like they had. They didn't want to punt, but they didn't trust Dylan. So, try and kick a field goal in whatever weather was going on in West Virginia, which I look, I've punted there. I just punted and kind of just hoped the defense could make a stand. But
I would have punted.
yeah, I mean but I mean at the same time, if they punt, we're talking about, well, should they have gone for it? Should they have tried a field goal maybe? When realistically punting was the only sensible option, and
Correct.
I don't think but I also don't think it changes the game that much. So it
What
might
if
though, it might.
speaking of punting? What this is the other thing, and he mentioned it in like the last. I want to say at least two press conferences. It was the one before, but this one. Why is this staff surprised that teams are going for it on fourth down? I'm surprised we're not going for it on fourth down.
Well, it's just it's just kind of, I mean, it's just a shift over the last couple of years. You see in the NFL where teams want to be more aggressive, teams aren't just taking it anymore, and they're trying to play it for all four downs. Um, I think some of it too is some of it plays into how the OU defense is, because look, against the Clemson defense, even in its current form, you're probably not doing that. I mean, you're not. I mean, you 4 downs against Clemson, they can stop it.
Yeah,
OU just says it. OU's defense just as if you stopping it, and it's one of those things where once teams know that about you,
they're gonna exploit it.
yeah, I mean, you can easily exploit it. Like if I can, like I like every, I'm sure that every single coach is thinking that at a certain point in the field is just okay. This is 4 down territory, and it changes how I'm calling 3rd down.
Yeah. What
Mm,
I get it. I get it. It's like we read it wrong. We do this. We do. At some point though, you gotta go for it. Like at least if you're
yeah,
gonna lose the game, lose by being ambitious, not
yeah.
because you're playing too conservative with it. And
I
that's
mean,
a question I want to ask you. Really, on
I think
both sides of the ball,
they. I mean, they.
realistically.
I mean, they
Oh,
don't
go ahead.
trust Dillon. I mean, they don't trust Dillon. I just don't
No,
think
that's
they
why I'm
trust
convinced like
Dillon.
he ain't going to
So
be the starter next year. Like I don't care. I cannot be convinced otherwise that you're not going to throw your 5-star quarterback out there even if it's growing pains. I just cannot realistically see it. But then again on the flip side, what is OU even doing right? I mean, we could discuss left and right West Virginia. It's an F. There is nothing to discuss. The thing that keeps going back on me with this. This is what's been going nuts on me. And this is on coaches. This is Brent's got to eat this. He's got to take a big old bite out of this shit sandwich. Is why are these players so undisciplined? Like our
I
guy
mean,
being
yeah.
over the line of
I
scrimmage.
mean,
Like,
you can,
why are we
I
making
mean,
week one mistakes?
you can ask that for any team. It just it just I don't know. It's just yeah. I mean, you can yell all you want. You can do it. If the players don't respond to it, that's not always. Coaching staff plays a lot into it,
Yeah,
but I'm sure the coaching staff knows it. I'm sure they're going over it. But if players just aren't clocked into it or checked into it, and I think some of it too is, we're seeing what you are when you're when you're a 5-6 win team, where the focus just isn't there because at this point you're just trying to get through the season. I mean,
yeah. Well, you
it's unfortunate, but that's just where we are. So
well, and you just confirmed it with me because to me it's one of two things. Either A, talent aside, everything aside, these are either A, the dumbest football players that OU has ever fielded on a team, or B, they're not putting forth the effort. And I know A is not true. So it's
yeah.
B. They're not putting forth the effort for it. We see it. They're not putting forth the effort because they just don't get it. They don't get it. Now, here's my question. What are they doing right now?
I mean, I, I mean, I will say that look, when West Virginia brought in their backup quarterback for running, the defense at least seemed to the defense. Yeah, we gave up some points, but at the very least, the defense seemed to adjust well enough that didn't
Yeah.
immediately turn to a disaster. Like we didn't give up 40 points after the quarterback switch
No.
was made. And I mean, and look, and you can talk about that. And you can talk about that last touchdown if it should have happened. If the look, I mean, you can talk about some stuff with the refs. We can talk about stuff with the refs all day, but
Yeah, refs. You know, the ironic part with that is we could, but they weren't the problem when your team is that
no,
shitty.
I mean, they weren't. The call did not help. That's my only point.
Yeah.
But but the defense didn't totally collapse. I know that sounds like faint praise, but no, I mean, no, the defense came out. They they did a side. They played as well as I think you could have expected the defense to have played in that game.
Exactly. And to be fair,
and especially when they switch quarterbacks mid game, that's a hard thing. It doesn't work it doesn't work all the time, but that is a very hard thing to deal with, to go through a game plan and then second quarter up here's an entirely different quarterback with an entirely different skill set. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, they still gave up some points, but we still could have won it. And and the offense being bad, look, that takes that takes a toll on the defense, because when when you get 3 and out, there's your toll. I mean,
yeah,
the defense at that point starts to get tired, and that's what happened at the end. The defense was just tired.
they were gassed, and I don't blame them for that. But I also go back to the 35 points should be enough to win a football game. Holding your opponent to 23 points should be enough to win a football game.
Yeah,
What is the disconnect with there? And that's why I said I'm really worried for this weekend.
It's inconsistent. I mean,
Is it inconsistent or is it incompetence?
Inconsistent. It's inconsistent.
I would say incompetence at this point. Like they're not good. They're just not good.
Yeah. I think they're flashes of them being good, but they're just too inconsistent to be good, and that makes them bad.
Yeah.
It's a because look, I mean, look, football. No matter what look, football is a very tough sport.
Oh, absolutely.
It is not a sport where, and especially like look at the NFL this year. Okay, let's look at I'll use them as an example. Look at the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
They won the Super Bowl last year.
And now they're poo poo.
And yeah. Now they'll be lucky, to make the playoffs. And just because, and yeah, I know they lost their offensive coordinator, but Sean McVay has been there long enough that Sean McVay's been there long enough. It's not just a Kevin O'Connell thing. It's unfortunate, but I mean, just look at how things have worked for the NFL. The Rams have been in a lot of games. They've been close. They have been woefully inconsistent. Some of that Stafford who's been hurt, and some of that has just been other things have been working against them.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. Look, you can look, and I'll use another team, a bad team as an example. Cleveland Browns. They have 3 wins this year.
Yep.
But due to inconsistency, and I know this is a good team. There was a good team here last year. The defense was a top 10 defense, but they've lost at least 4 games just due to inconsistency with things. Special teams, inconsistent, so that's cost them a couple games. And that's what it is. And you see that from well coached teams to poorly coached teams. When inconsistency is what kills a team, because as a coach, if you don't know what you're getting that day, good luck trying to game plan. Like, if I know my team, like, as weird as it is, if I know my team's strengths and faults and I know where they are this year, I know how they are, I can write a game plan. I can plan out what I need to do. I can plan out how I need to play. And you know what? That's great. But is my defense going to give up 20 points? Are we going to give up 45? Is my offense going to be able to score? Or what can my offense score today?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. So inconsistency hurts more than anything else. And and I will say I do think they are bad because they are inconsistent, but that also kills you because I know it's there. I know it's there. Not like not like championship level, maybe not even Big 12 level, but at the very least, we should have been able to finish off West Virginia. We should have been able to win one out of Kansas State and Baylor. But we'll see how the end of the year goes. I will say, if you win Bedlam, that's going to fix. Look, if you win Bedlam, even with all the OK State problems, that that helps a lot of issues.
The season becomes manageable, I guess.
It's
You have to win. It is do or die now.
beating 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 your rival always feels good, and it does buy you some slack from some of those other losses. But you
Right.
have to, but you have to win. It can't be a blowout like Texas, because you can't show, you can't show, we got blown out by both of our rivals. That's a tough sell.
Yeah,
That's a
that is
that's a tough beat. That's just a tough beat, and yeah.
yeah. So, but I still pose the question: what is this team doing right? Because, let me go back, because you mentioned the Browns with it and the inconsistency. Then that would fall on Brent, that he is not coaching these players correctly to not get penalized, to be disciplined, and he's not.
Yeah, but sometimes players just don't listen. It there's only so much you can do with coaching, and even college guys. Look. Look at look at the Tide this year. Nick Saban,
Yeah.
all-time great coach. This is one of his most undisciplined teams. You're telling me that Nick Saban, after decades of doing this, has suddenly changed or softened enough that mhm, mhm, that look, sometimes it's guys have to buy in, guys have to be willing to listen, and some guys just don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, this is a horrible time of possession for the Eagles game.
Why are they losing right now? I'm not paying attention.
They're losing by 6, but the time of possession is Washington at 30 minutes, Eagles at 7.
Whew.
Yeah, Washington. Yeah, Philly's defense just can't get off the field.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Huh. It's like you're
Yeah.
telling me they can't get off the field? What?
Yeah.
Next, you're going to tell me that they are. So that's something I guess I don't get either, and I guess it's because we don't have the offense for it, but a lot of people are bitching about why are we not using up tempo to our advantage for it? I don't think we have the ability to run up tempo. Why?
You do. Yeah, can Dylan run up tempo? I don't think he can.
I don't think so either.
Prove me wrong, dear. Please prove me wrong on that. But yeah. You just, if you don't have the people to run up tempo, you don't have the people.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter. I know people are gonna say, yeah, well, you can look, they see in practice, they know, and there's a lot behind the scenes that we don't know. I'm sure
Right.
it's gonna get out at some point. Everything gets out at some point. But
Right.
it's a rough first year. The only thing I can really take away from it here is, if it's going to be, if you're gonna have a rough first year, at least we're not blowing it with great talent.
Right.
Because
How many?
we've seen some very bad coaches come into situations, make enough changes, and then year 3 they just collapse when they bring their own guys in. So
Yeah,
gotta wait to see.
and I think that's what kills me with it is right now Eric Gray has put on like a couple fantastic, and I was early criticism of the season. He was just not performing well
Yeah.
with it. And he's put on just amazing performances, and they're wasted.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. That's sport. That's sports, though. Sometimes you have some of the best performances of your career, and just look at, look at, look at the Bears right now. Justin Fields been playing out of his mind. His defense has not been able to back him up. He threw a pick six, and he still had 40 fantasy points. So, but that said, for the Bears, it's obvious. For the Bears, it's different. Bears have to be feeling really good about, even though the Bears have lost the last 3 games. Look, I don't know how you can't at least look at Justin Fields and be like, that's our guy. That's our quarterback of the future. We can build around him. So
yeah,
it's
just it's all over the place with it. And like I said with it, like I think in the off season, this is just my opinion. I think you have to fire Roof and you have to go get a quarterback coach.
Oh yeah, definitely. But trust me, this is known. This is stuff that's going on behind the scenes. Not that I don't know anything, but but trust me, people involved have people. If as long as the people involved are as smart as I think they are, then this is known, and they're looking. Unfortunately, what happened with Lincoln last year caught everyone flat-footed.
Yeah,
and so you end up in a situation where you just kind of have to take the scraps you can get, and that's where we ended up with. That's kind of where we ended up with Roof. Plus, you're never going to really get. Plus, you have to get the right defensive guy for who's going to work with Brent. You can't bring in someone because Brent's a defensive guy. You're not. It's like it's same thing where you're not bringing in someone who's going to redo the offense with Lincoln. You just aren't. Even though, as we've said, one of Lincoln's faults was his play calling at times. So
he overthought.
But regardless, I would say that right now you just have to take a look at it and say if they're as smart as I think they are, there are already some names lined up, and they know changes need to be made. Now, if they make no changes, well,
Red flag.
it's. I'll say this here: it's a red. Yeah, it's a red flag. And you better be right, because if you're not right, oh, it's going to be bad next year if you don't make changes. But that's part of the tough part of it. It's
and that's what I'm scared of. Swiggy
Mm-hmm.
is when you look at the surface level, like the eye test, essentially the first impression. That's the word I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Brent has failed on that. I mean, I don't even think it's average because really outside of Nebraska, maybe Kansas with it, but they were an undermanned team.
Mm-hmm.
He has failed that part of it, and that's what scares me. Is that that is a true situation. We're starting to play a little bit with fire, and I don't like that. I don't like that.
I don't. I don't know. It's I don't know. It's you can't judge a coach by 1 year. I know. I know there's a lot of stuff, but I also think going from Lincoln to Brent is a major culture shift.
Do you think
And
that's half the problem is the culture? And I know
yeah,
that's talked about, but do you think that's half the
yes,
problem?
yes. I think I think that's half the problem. Well, obviously, look, and I know this is unscientific. I know this isn't fair, but just look at a lot of Sooners in the NFL. We're just seeing, you see a lot of guys who just, we've had owners look, for better or worse, and some of it, some of it might just be Jerry being Jerry.
Yeah.
Jerry's questioned CD Lamb's effort, but we've also seen with Kyler where at one point is written into his contract he had to study.
Yeah.
And and everything going on with Baker Mayfield in the NFL, unfortunately. And I look at it, I I just look at it where in the NFL you have so much more structure, you have so much more. You cannot slack off in the NFL. You have to be the you have to be the guy. You have to be ready. You can't just relax or you're gonna have problems. And look, I mean, the one guy who was OU who is having the most success right now is the guy who played under but with both Lincoln Riley and Nick Saban systems, Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just how it feels. I mean, when you look at it too, I mean, I think it's who was it for the? I mean, who was it for? When wasn't it Sermon who went to the Niners? Am I thinking
Yeah, I
correctly?
think so. I think so.
Yeah, and he was yeah, and he's and he, yeah, and he was yeah, and he was cut by yeah, and he was cut by the Niners. Look, I know he went to Ohio State after OU, but he spent a lot of time at OU,
Yeah.
and I just feel at this point, looking at how OU players are doing in the NFL, I think there are fair questions as to how the ship has been run.
Yeah.
And look, I know you can come back and give me examples of, oh, this guy is doing well or this guy's not doing bad. Yeah, and that's fair. But I, I just think that you also have some guys are doing great. I will say, Mark Andrews he's been fantastic in the NFL.
Yep.
No problems with him. So yeah, so it's not fast and true for everyone, but I do think looking at it, that does give you a look into it, where where are these guys really doing enough or are these guys really doing enough, or have they just been coasting on Saturdays for a while and now you're in a culture shock? Look, I'll be more nervous next year when the freshmen guys who have been under or young guys who are the ones Brent are trying to reach. Because look, as
Right.
far as the seniors go, I don't care how seniors are I don't care if seniors have given up. I just don't, because they're gone. If you have guys in their last year and they know they're gone, I just don't care if they've given up or buy into what the coach is saying, because
Because they're gone.
at this point, look, it's a new culture. I don't care if you're on or off because you're gone. I'd like you
Right.
to buy in, but and that's I think that's one thing. That's one thing we can at least. It does seem like some of the younger guys have bought into it. It's just the younger guys don't make up a football team, so
Right. It's a struggle, man. It's a
it
struggle.
is. Yeah, it is.
So
It is a struggle, and yeah,
it
and
is what it is.
I don't like it, but I'm also not going to hit the panic. Like, as for as bad as this year is, I'm not going to hit the panic button until next year. Now, if we're having these same conversations next year, I'll be right with you. I'll be right with you on it. But
And we might be. I mean, there's
hey,
no
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's a weird situation at the moment. So,
yeah.
I gotta wrap up because I gotta go get some stuff done at this point. I'm getting some pings that I need to respond to. So I want to
Mhm.
thank you for coming on because there's only so much too we can talk about with it because it is what it is. So I want everyone to thank you for joining tonight, guys. I know this was a special Monday stream but I wanted to make sure I got to everybody with it. I'm gonna upload my West Virginia OU video. There's only so much you can talk about with it at this point. It was an F. So
Yeah.
press F. So Comment, rate, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, and join us Wednesdays, guys, because we're gonna have our Wednesday preview of Bedlam, which is surprisingly at 6:30, but it's not surprising if you look at who has what TV rights. So,
it's gonna. That game's gonna be so cold.
I know it's gonna be really cold, Swiggy. It's gonna be really cold, and I'm gonna be there shivering my butt off. But hey, if we're gonna be booing players, I'm not gonna toss up lose an opportunity to do so. I guess.
Hey,
so whatever.
Hey, I once went to a World Series game where it snowed. So,
but that would have been fun. So,
yeah.
So, all right, buddy, I'm gonna let you go. Everyone, thank you for joining tonight. Boomer Sooner, only one. We're still here, regardless if we win or we are like, as my thumbnail says, ew, I stepped in some shit. Regardless, we are still here. So, Boomer Sooner, guys, talk to y'all Wednesday.